Hello, and today we are going to continue with the topic of change. So now that we have established change, we're going to talk what happens during change. Change is evidently important in the life of organization. It's a must. And now we're going to talk how we are communicating during that time from professional side and from organizational side. Lena, do you want to begin?
Yeah, so like Sarit said, there's obviously two aspects to any change. There is organizational side and there is a personal side. So let's have a look at why personal change can be so hard to accomplish. Now, I believe that the reason we resist changes is because they are unfamiliar, and our logical, analytical minds, they love familiarity. So something that it can't understand, it will send us a signal to our nervous system saying danger, danger, right? So let's say an example, maybe you grew up in a family where you had strict routines. Maybe you were praised for doing things in a certain way, for being even a perfectionist. And the chances are that's exactly what you will demonstrate in your life. So you will choose the job where you can stay in control, where you make sure that your job is done perfectly, you're comfortable with certain routines, and you execute everything to your best ability. And, you know, we can, when it comes to personal dynamics, right? So we almost always, I would say, we often do have a choice whether we choose to stay in our predictable routines, making sure we are in control of things. But even though I know that life will throw us eventually a curveball, prompting us to make some changes in our lives, but we can still have some element of control. However, when it comes to our professional lives, it's slightly different because here we are not in charge. You know, we've got our managers, our bosses, whoever else is making the rules. And yes, we can make a decision to leave our job and to go look for something else. But how do we know it's not going to happen there? And, you know, the other job will also require us to change and to get comfortable with uncomfortable. We don't know, right? The other thing we can do is to stay, if you like your job, obviously, and start looking at why we are resisting the changes, trying to really understand what is it within you that sends you into this fights and flight states. And, you know, really also by recognizing that only when we get comfortable with uncomfortable and when we are being challenged to push our comfort zones, that's the only time we can really grow, because we can't grow by always being in a comfortable, familiar, predictable situations. So, but before we I'll share with you some tips on to help you overcome this resistance. I want to actually go deeper into what actually triggers this resistance. So we all have our beliefs about ourselves, about people, about the world, and about how things should be. And most of the times, those beliefs are unconscious, meaning that we actually not even aware of it. They're just running there on autopilot in our subconscious minds. And they also stem from our childhood, right? It's, you know, something we decided when we were small based on our upbringing, on our parents, on our society. We made a decision, and usually this decision was to protect ourselves. And I call it like a wall. So we started building this wall. So we started creating our own model of reality. So I'll just share with you like a personal actually example. And my personal example is to do with timing. So as a child, I grew up in a household where I had pretty strict routines, I would say. I had to do my chores. I had to do my homework first, even if it was a holiday. I couldn't go and play until everything was done. I wasn't encouraged just to sit and daydream and to do nothing. I always had to be busy and showing others that I was doing something for them. And that really created unhealthy patterns for me when it came to timing. I was always in a rush, and not I was in a rush, but I was putting that pressure on other people to keep up with my schedule. And it took me a really long time and really kind of even, you know, connecting, I guess, to my body because my body started aching from them. And from that, I had 3 energy burnouts to finally start seeing that pattern, right? To start understanding my unhealthy relationship with time. So now let's say your beliefs you may be absolutely fine with some, you don't feel that pressure to do things, but you have a different pattern, different beliefs where you need to be in control of everything, right? If you're not in control of things, things will fall apart. They're just not going to work out. And that's why like a job security is so important for you. You don't like taking risks because it feels uncomfortable. So one thing I've got to really stress here is that our beliefs are not just working in isolation. They're not separate from the rest of us. Our beliefs impact our emotions. So for example, if you're feeling like you're not in control of your job, of a certain situation, it can trigger fear. So our beliefs and our thoughts trigger certain emotions within us. And usually when we feel this unhelpful emotion, let's stick with fear or anger, our first tendency is to suppress it, to deny it, to ignore it, or completely explode. But by doing that, we can never get to the root cause of the issue. And that's why the same situation will trigger us or will kind of reinforce that same behavior over and over and over. And we kind of almost left helpless trying to understand what's going on, right? But it's like just the way our body and our brains react. It sends us into this fight and flight mode. So the first thing we really need to do is to firstly become present, to become aware of this emotion, right? So if you are feeling, let's say, anger or fear, you're just becoming present, because what it does, it helps you to become aware of this emotion and gives you this space. I guess it creates the space between you and emotion and enables you to start choosing responses rather than reacting to it, right? Like running away or completely like having an explosion. So once you then became present to this emotion, you identified it, okay, I'm feeling anger. The next thing we need to do is to accept this emotion. And what I mean by that, often when something, let's say, triggers within us, for example, a fear of change or somebody angered us, we start thinking straight away about who said what, who did what happened to us 20 years ago that caused this emotional reaction. But by doing that, we're creating a thinking and a feeling loop that we cannot break out of unless we do something completely drastic, or maybe we like, have a bottle of wine just to calm ourselves down. So when you by accepting what you're feeling, what I mean by that is really like just letting go of everything and just being with that emotion, because at the end of the day, this emotion is energy in motion, and the only way to heal it is to feel it, right? Because only through feeling it, we can release this suppressed energy from the body. And when we don't allow ourselves to feel it, when we numb it, we suppress this energy, and not it only negatively impacts our moods, where we become even angrier or even more fearful, but it also actually negatively impacts our health. And then the last thing I want to share with you here is that once you're feeling this emotion, by the way, I don't like encourage you, if you, let's say in a meeting, your manager comes up to you and saying, this is the changes we're going to do, and you feel this massive fear, and you've got to start going through the process I'm sharing with you. It's probably not the right place, but just having a few minutes, maybe in the evening, to reflect on your day and to practice that would really help you. So the third step then in this process would be to start reframing your thoughts, because remember, it's our beliefs. And what is belief? Belief is just a collection of thoughts that we thought of over time. So the third step here would be to start reframing your thinking, rewiring your thinking. Let's say, go back to the example of anger. You're feeling angry. What is the thought that caused you to feel that way? And the thought could be, nobody respects me. Just as an example, okay? We all are going to have different thoughts behind this emotion. Well, firstly, ask yourself, is it complete truth? The answer is going to be no, because there is at least one person who does respect you. So then you can, just be even asking yourself simple questions like that. You can actually begin to think, to see that there might be some error in your thinking, that your thinking isn't always correct. So you put a little bit of a doubt in that logical mind. And then some of the powerful phrases that I love to use, and I used to write a lot of them out in the beginning, I am choosing. So for example, I am choosing to let go of my limiting belief. I'm in a process of trusting myself more. I am becoming. So anything really, you know, just to start changing your thinking and start rewiring your thought process, where you go from nobody respects me to I'm choosing to respect myself more. I'm choosing myself before others choose me. So what you're doing by that is, instead of giving the power away to the external circumstances, to the manager, to your job, to the person in your dynamic and your relationship, you bring the power back to you. And this process eventually will help you to rewire your thinking. And when you rewire your thinking, you will rewire your feelings. So if next time when you feel like you're losing control, you will identify this limiting belief immediately, and you will know that it's actually just an old pattern, an old belief that you created maybe when you were 5 years old, that's playing now like in a 40-year-old body. And then you can identify it and work with it and release it. And that really, you know, frees you up, and you just become more spontaneous and more in flow with life. Well, I hope that helps.
Okay, so let's take it to the organization side. So first, I would like to emphasize that organization don't really have a choice. If organization want to survive, want to compete, want to succeed, change is an integral part of the organizational life. Organization operates differently, but yet the same. So the way I usually thought about the organization as a whole was that organization are the sum of their parts, meaning that we are a collective. So understanding the individual side, as Lena said, is crucial in applying the actual reaction of the organization, okay? Because by the end of by the day, we're talking to people, from people to people, which means, for example, that if we understand where we're coming from, organization need processes. So, for example, when Lena said limited beliefs or whatever from the organization, it's on organizational side, the processes we have is our limited belief. This is our behavior. Usually every process is like a muscle within the oil machine. And with the future of work, with the change, we need to think about it differently. And today we are talking about communication. So communication through, actually, again, from ever, communication used to shape collectives and get people to move in towards a collective target, and to get people to move their energy and to create. Technology got us to speed up as an organization. We are multi-languages, multicultural. Location is becoming not relevant. We have multiple WhatsApp groups, emails, town halls, Zoom. We have multiple ways to communication, but the logic stay the same. So if we understand that a change is an unstable milestone in the life of an organization, of course, communication is key to the success of where we're driving. Okay, probably one of the most important things is communication in order to get the organization from one place to another. I usually really thought about organization as a ship, and we need to navigate the ship. So if, for example, instructions need to be going down from the top to the bottom, making sure everything is organized. So communication is key. And clarity and destination and where we are at. And I usually prepared myself for the fact it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be smooth. So the more information I can have, the more open communication I can have for myself as I used to be a CEO, or for the employees from up to bottom, that actually was the best. So open communication, feedbacks all overall from top to bottom, from all sides of organization was key. And usually I thought about a set of KPIs and numbers, because I really believe that putting math on it, to put numbers, is widely not open to interpretation. So for example, during the way, if we decided, for example, that the sales should be at whatever at this stage, or you know what, indicating KPIs, amount of leads, amount of conversation, amount of customers that went through the beta, whatever KPI that you have, set numbers and in every point in time communicate clearly or run a very set of clear numbers, that will eliminate the fear. People that are sitting in all areas of the business can relate to actual numbers, and they will know where we are. If we are not at the place that we wanted, then there will be an explanation on what, and there should be a roadmap to where that will take us to where we should have been. So my first recommendation is KPIs and numbers to get a clear point. Second of all, giving information widely to all the organization from all sides of the business, okay? I'm coming from high tech, so it's very, very easy for me to actually speak about high tech. So for example, R&D people development during release of a new product, usually I will get information from just publish to the whole organization from the R&D, through the sales people, through the marketing people, through customer success people. So everybody coming and sharing their experiences with the new product. If you are having a 360% a circle of communication from all the sides of the business, people that don't really understand where they are injected within the change, if they started to move into the change and didn't know exactly what role do they play, by gaining views from all the people, they would actually be able to relate to where they are. And then it will start to eliminate the fear. It will give them an understanding of where they're supposed to be. They would see an open conversation. As then we said, authenticity is key. And this is part of how we communicate authenticity, by having everybody have a voice. And the third one, every organization, as I said, have a set of processes. You probably have a cadence to when you are talking to the organization, meaning team leader meetings, group meeting, management meeting, town halls, newsletter. You probably have a set of KPIs that is set within your HR team. So within change, of course, you may consider to have a shorter time of period between them. So for example, if you have a quarterly town hall, you may consider to make it maybe a weekly or 2 weekly. If the change, we usually work agile in high tech, so 2 weeks probably it's a good recommendation, because everything agile is 10 days. So you may think about increasing the cadence. And I think the last thing that I can recommend to you when you are thinking about the communication within change is to have within the cadence feedback. Usually we do a quarterly feedback and a yearly review, business review. Within the change, I would recommend to have open circle tables, having more people talking to people, because the only thing you don't want, and it's regard to communication, where you don't have employees have where to ventilate. Because if they ventilate in the coffee machine and you are not there, that's actually damage. Part of giving stability, part of giving people clarity is to have a cadence to when they're actually coming and providing feedback, even if it's negative, even if it's positive, even if it's something. Title feedback, they would know, and there was a straight cadence to exactly when and how and whom and where, and they would be able to know that they will have an open freedom to actually expose, of course, respectably, any fears, any feedback, any comments they have. I think I covered all my notes, and I really, really believe in communication and in honesty. That's usually the good policy between personal and organizational.
Yeah, so I mean, basically from, just to kind of paint the whole round picture, from organizational perspective, obviously communication is the key. The clear they communicate, the better people inform, and that can definitely eliminate some of the fear and resistance. But it still needs to be up to individuals to take, care of their side. So if they've got the fear of the change, if they're resistant to anything, that's where I believe that also personal development comes into, where we've got to take responsibility for our actions, not just get managers running around trying to communicate and do everything for us, and we just feel like poor victims completely lost in this chaos. So it's both, it's communication and also taking personal ownership and responsibility.
And I think we are both recommending authenticity. It's just you are recommending authenticity between you and you. Because some of the people that show that will see our video, I'm not resistant to change. And I think that the minute this is your reaction, actually listen to Lena very carefully. And that's mean you are against change. If you're not open even to hearing another people's opinion, that's mean change is also accepting somebody else's opinion. And of course, in organization, authenticity all overall in the times of change.
I remember reading somewhere just quickly, just to say that, and I almost feel like it's going to be another video. There was a title I read saying your unauthenticity, I don't know why I struggle with the word, being unauthentic is killing you. And I couldn't understand it back then. I was like, well, unhealthy food can kill me, but how can me being not authentic kill me? And honestly, that is like, I think, the biggest thing that holds us back is being unauthentic with ourselves. And that's whether it's organizational, personal. And I just wanted to put it out there. It was just made such an impression on me. And I do feel like we've got to have a separate chat on that topic also.
Yeah, but let's start thinking about it when we communicate to ourselves or as an organization.
Yeah, and look within ourselves. Why are we so resisting? Because that's going to show up in personal and professional lives, and take responsibility.
I think the biggest tip is if you're seeing this video and immediately you want to close it, those are the people that I recommend to actually stay until the end.
They would have already closed it, so they're probably not.
Maybe they're already here. Maybe we'll put it as a short.
All right, guys, we'll see you in the next video. Bye.